Dear friends, welcome back to Insights with Dr. Jen. Today, we are in the first week of 2025. Many of you may want to make a New Year resolution. Here is my resolution. Whatever the sailing is, bamboo, glass, or anything else, let's break them all. In our last episode, we discussed the bamboo sailing, the invisible barrier that holds many East Asians back from a leadership role in Western business. Studies suggest that cultural differences, particularly in the communication styles like assertiveness and negative stereotypes about East Asians being less creative, contribute to this issue. But based on my own experience, that's only part of the story. Today, I want to share 3 key insights that I have learned from my own journey, the lessons that help me overcome those barriers and move into leadership roles in multiple international companies. My goal is to give you practical ideas as you explore your own leadership journey. First, setting vision with principles that can guide us through tough decision making. Second, critical thinking for problem solving. Last one, storytelling to secure resources. In each section, I will share business stories that left a lasting impression on me and personal stories to illustrate why these 3 points, not others, are on the top list of my advice. Now, let's get started. First, setting vision with principles. A crucial guideline when facing tough decisions. Principles are your compass when navigating difficult situations. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are and what you envision for the future. Think of your business as your baby. You decide what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. Every parent has a dream about their kid, and that's your vision. Every parent has a way of raising up their kids. That is your principle. So your principles define your boundaries, your priorities, and the vision you aim to achieve. A visionary leader sets a clear goal and uses principles to shape the journey towards that goal. Your vision is the destination, and your principles are the roadmap to get there. I normally use a model I called the core value alignment method to guide my decision making. The model ensures that every action aligns with the core principles that support my vision. Basically, it involves 3 steps. Very easy. First, identify your core principles, whether it is integrity, accountability, collaboration, team working, or innovation. These are the non-negotiables that shape your leadership style. And then align every action with those principles. Ask yourself, does this decision reflect your principle and move you close to your vision? Whenever you have difficulties, always go back to this starting point. Number 3, the last step is communicate the principles clearly with your team so that it can be held. Organization's culture and decision-making process are clearly based on this. I want to start with an example, which I read from Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk. When I read it during this Christmas holiday, I really connected deeply with Elon's approach to business, especially how he builds everything around first principle thinking. The mindset resonates with my rule, principle, value alignment model. Elon Musk famously said, maybe you heard of, physics is the only law that you must follow. Everything else is a recommendation. This reflects his deep commitment to first principles thinking, by challenging conventional norms and focusing on fundamental truths to achieve his vision. At SpaceX, Musk has a very clear vision to make space travel affordable and sustainable. Instead of accepting that rockets must be expensive, he broke down the costs of raw materials and asked, what is the cheapest way to achieve the same results without breaking the laws of physics? This vision and principles-driven approach led him to the reusable rockets idea, dramatically reducing launching costs. We all witnessed SpaceX's stunning rocket landings, with two giant metallic arms reaching out to the sky like chopsticks to gently catch the rocket on the platform. So, as you can see, setting a visionary goal and sticking to your principles can redefine what's possible. It's about breaking away from traditional rules while respecting the core truths that guide your path. I also want to share a personal story how setting a clear vision guided by principles helping me to build up one financial training company that's well respected by many financial professionals in China. In 2002, before I returned back to China to set up the FTC China, now the Kaplan Financial, I had a clear vision to build a premier financial training institution that would empower professionals to grow their careers ethically and professionally. At the end of year 2009, when I left the company to join Walt Disney English Project, FTC is regarded as the Western Point Academy for financial analysts in many investment banks and fund management firms in China. I contribute this achievement to my core principle of doing training business must be based on professionalism. Many friends before I came back to China in 2002 warned me that to win contracts in business, sometimes you will have to pay commissions under the table to the decision maker, especially in China. It was not a happy message, but I made a firm decision to myself from the very beginning. I will never do that. I will never compromise on my professionalism principle because I told myself education for the name must add value for people to grow themselves professionally and also ethically. If I do something that breaks this rule, what the heck? I'm choosing education as a business. We are there to help people to become a better individuals, to grow their careers in the right way. If I ever compromise this principle to make money, then I should never start this business at all. When I came back to China, set up the company, I communicated this vision and principles clearly to my team from day one. We will never compromise our integrity to win a contract. I wanted them to understand that ethical behavior wasn't just a rule, it was our identity as an education provider. We faced many challenging situations or temptations. We often are invited to dinners, karaoke parties, and client gatherings. Of course, there were moments when hints were dropped, subtle suggestions are given that the education projects will belong to us if we can provide some private benefits, but I never take that fight. Sticking to the principle was not easy, especially in the environment if we have a sales target to meet. But the results spoke for themselves if you decided to stick the rule. One of the proudest moments in my career was when a top fund management firm awarded us a 1 million renminbi consulting project after completing our investment analysis program. Their decision was based purely on the trust of our quality and expertise. They invited us to write up the whole investment manual for the firm and build into their investment process. The success wasn't accidental. It was a result of holding firmly to our vision and aligning every decision with that core professionalism principle. Over the time, our reputation grew. I'm very proud to say that we have trained more than over 5,000 professionals from nearly every major investment bank and fund management firm in China. So the first takeaway, when you set a clear vision and stick to your principles, you build lasting trust and reputation. This is also the first question I want you to ask yourself. What is your goal currently in your career? What the principles you can never compromise in achieving your goals? Second advice, critical thinking, the ability to analyze complex issues, challenge assumptions, and propose actionable solutions using logical reasoning rather than intuition. When it comes to critical thinking, one of the most fascinating examples I've come across is Elon Musk's first principle thinking. It's not only his principle, but also his problem-solving methods. It means to break a problem down to its fundamental components and rebuilding solutions from scratch. I never heard about this before when I worked in Walt Disney Company or when I solved problems. But after I read it, I felt that somehow I have followed this kind of thinking method. So it is critical thinking, but Elon Musk developed into actionable steps which we can all follow. Here is his idiot index example. I love idiot index name because I found this name really has been so useful. I applied it in almost every decision making in my life now. So the story happened in SpaceX. Musk noticed that engineers often overcomplicated rocket designs, which made them extremely expensive. To tackle this, he introduced a concept called the idiot index, a way to calculate how much more costly a finished product was compared to the cost of its basic materials. He found out that rockets had an insanely high idiot index. When Musk broke it down, the raw materials, things like carbon fiber, metal, and fuel, made up only 2% of NASA's rocket costs. The remaining 98% came from traditional, overly complicated process. So Musk asked a simple question. What if we rebuild rocket from scratch, not using outer contractors? He calculated the cost of raw materials and started eliminating unnecessary steps in the process. By applying first principle thinking, SpaceX managed to reduce cost by up to 90%. Here is the impact. It cost SpaceX $62 million to launch its Falcon 9 to low Earth orbit, in contrast to NASA's $1.5 billion. We can all learn from his thinking process. It involved asking 5 key questions to simplify the designs. First, can you eliminate it? Second, if not, can you simplify it? Third, if not, can you optimize? And 4, can you automate it? Last, are you sure you need it? By repeatedly asking those questions, SpaceX achieved breakthrough in reusable rockets and affordable space travel. When I read his book, he sometimes drives people crazy in order to simplify a thing, but he challenged very obvious assumptions. We all have blind spot. So when you have an issue, try to identify the assumptions behind it and challenge that assumption. This is also something I learned in my PhD research. As a researcher, best way we're trying to present an argument is to challenge assumptions. Now let me share with you how I used a similar approach, which, as I said, I don't know it's called first principles, but I used similar ways to solve a quite messy problem during my working time in Disney English. At that time, I was the sales and marketing director. We faced a problem. My sales team seems never be able to meet our sales target. So when we ask the sales team, they will say, we are not getting enough people to show up for the demo class. Then the call center team will blame marketing, saying, the leads they provided are not good enough, so people do not show up in our training class. The marketing team will then fight back, saying sales is not capable to close all the deals fast and good enough, wasting all our marketing leads. It was quite a frustrating cycle of finger pointing that wasn't getting us anywhere. As you can imagine, I decided to break it all down from scratch, just like Musk did for the rocket. What I mean is, the method is not only for manufacturing industry, it's also for any business you involve a process. I mapped out the entire sales process from the moment a lead was generated to the final conversion into a sales. By looking at every step, you can see marketing generates leads, then call center call those leads. Then leads show up for demo classes. Sales team gave the consultation and closed the lead. I asked the team to focus on each specific KPI at each step for themselves. The marketing will bear the KPI for quantity of the leads generated. Call center will be responsible for the show-up rate. Lastly, the sales will bear the KPI of close rate. If the show-up rate is low, we will look at the marketing campaign, trying to organize more targeted events to generate fewer but more qualified leads and ensuring faster follow-up for the call center to improve connection rate. Thus, the show-up rate can be improved. The finger-pointing scenario will be stopped. Here is the summary. When facing an issue, you need to apply first principles thinking to problem solving. Don't just take things at surface. Challenge the behind-the-scene assumptions. Break complex problems down to their core components. Ask the right 5 questions and rebuild solutions from the ground up. Finally, let's talk about storytelling. This ties directly to what I discussed in episode 4 about assertive communication, expressing our thoughts, feelings, and needs clearly and respectfully, without being too aggressive or pushy. But today, I want to take it a step further. Storytelling is one of the most powerful tools for securing buy-in, whether from investors, stakeholders, or business teams. People do not buy ideas, they buy stories. Let's start with a very famous story, Airbnb. When the founders first pitched their idea, most investors rejected them. No one believed people would pay to stay in a stranger's house. So the founders changed their approach by using a simple storytelling model. This model involves 3 steps, and you may realize a lot of business successful cases you learn is based on this. First step, personal connection. The founders of Airbnb, they shared how they started renting out air mattresses in their apartment to cover rental during the global financial crisis. And then second step presents the problem. They talked about how the 2008 financial crisis made it hard for people to afford housing, so share a house, a room with strangers become more popular solution. Number 3 step is to propose a solution. The Airbnb would empower people to earn extra income by renting out their home. That emotional, relatable story secured the funding for the Airbnb funders. And today, we all know Airbnb is a multi-billion-dollar business. It becomes a popular lifestyle. Now let me start my personal story, how I secured a 3 million budget for a treasury trading program for Chinese bankers. In 2011, I joined a local financial training company to head up their treasury trading program. When I took over the business unit, I promised to my boss that I will double the revenue for the following 3 years. But when I asked my team why the growth was so slow, the sales told me that the price was too high. Now, with critical thinking foundation we just discussed, I won't simply accept this explanation. I need more information. So I interviewed training managers of key banks, our previous learners, hundreds of bank managers across China, big cities, small cities. Their feedback was clear. The learning objective was to transition from product-based selling to more consultative, client-focused solutions. They want to be the business partner for the corporate client, but our US-based program provided solid international standards. It lacked the local relevance. They found it hard to apply many concepts or solutions in their daily work. Based on those insights, I proposed to localize the training program by incorporating our Chinese business cases. However, to make this happen, I need a renminbi 3 million budget to establish an academic team, nearly 40% of the previous sales. I had to convince my boss to approve this investment. To do so, I structured my pitch using the PPP model, which is personal connection, then problem identification, finally proposed solutions. I started by telling a story related to myself. In my childhood, I always see my father every night study something. So I asked him, why you are still studying when you already have a good, stable job in Chinese bank? He said, the world keeps changing. If I want to help my clients better, I need to keep learning. Only when I be able to help my client, we will have business. His job was to manage credit cards, but he really want to understand how the risk can happen and what are the efficient risk management tools. At that time, he was around 45 years old. Every night, he will read one page of my high school English book and trying to learn English because he said a lot of materials, banking practice are written in English. He never felt it was too late to start. That dedication to continuous learning really influenced me as choosing education as my career and business area because I want to be the person who can actually provide the international high quality training for the Chinese banking financial professionals without them to learn English. During my interview with those bank managers, I discovered that all these managers from small or big cities, they all shared my father's passion for learning. They wanted to improve, and they want to become the true business partners for their corporate clients. Our program is good at providing an international best practice framework, but the local Chinese regulations, laws, and company development situation was not addressed. We need to help them by providing tailor-made case studies in Chinese scenarios, so they not only learn the framework, but also be able to apply this framework into Chinese business environment. My proposal to localize and tailor-made the program would provide both the international standards they want, but also the practical relevance. So after the program, they can truly be a client-focused solution provider. By positioning the program like this, the market potential was huge as well. Instead of focusing solely on the treasury departments in the banking, we would target over 500,000 corporate bankers across China. Even capturing just 10% of that market, it would represent a renminbi 250 million business opportunity. With that potential in mind, the renminbi 3 million budget to build an academic team and implement the localization plan would be less than 1.5% of the projected revenue. After telling a story of business growth like this, my boss happily approved the budget. Over the next 2 years, I delivered my promise and doubled the business. You may notice that storytelling in business isn't just about telling a fantasy. It's about backing it up with numbers, facts, and real-world impact. Here are 2 things I would like to highlight whenever you are preparing your storytelling pitch. First, always provide numbers to the stories. For example, how big the market size. When you present an idea, the realistic estimation of your market size in revenue terms are extremely important for investors or the decision makers. It also shows your understanding of the targeted market and its potential. A good way to learn how to do that is to watch a TV show called Shark Tank. Many startup entrepreneurs will pitch their business ideas and small business to investors, asking for equity funding. What do the sharks want? Tangible products, clear market potential, and solid evidence, not just a great idea. Normally, if you test your ideas with certain sales in the bank, the shark will start to show interest in your project. Second, always present some evidence to show that your idea works. Here's a great example from Elon Musk's Tesla journey. In 2008, it was the most difficult time of Tesla, which they almost running out of the money at the edge of financial bankruptcy. Daimler visited Tesla. They expect a PowerPoint presentation on their proposed electronic vehicle solution for Daimler's smart car. Instead, Elon Musk surprised them with an actual working sample car of EV-based smart car. Daimler was so impressed that they not only signed a contract to buy Tesla's batteries, but also invested $15 million in the company. Musk later said, if Daimler had not invested in Tesla at that time, we would have died. That's the power of evidence-based storytelling. Make your idea possible. It's not just telling a fantasy. It's about showing your story is real. Now we come to the conclusion of this episode. To break the bamboo ceiling or glass ceiling, whatever the ceiling it is, the first step is to remove the ceiling you place on yourself. Don't limit your mindset to culture, gender, or national stereotypes. Instead, focus on your goals, solve problems, then telling stories to people to get all the support you could get and move forward. There is a distinct difference between managers and leaders. A manager can manage tasks, but a leader inspires and drives change. A leader needs vision. And storytelling is the most powerful tool I have used to unite teams, secure resources, and win hearts. So if you want to break whatever the ceiling there, don't focus on the ceiling at all. Instead, my top 3 advice are: set a mission with clear principles to guide your decision making. Think critically to solve problems. Master the art of storytelling to inspire and lead. Ultimately, the best way to overcome barriers is to become the kind of leader that organizations need, but do not even realize they are missing. Stop managing your career. Start leading your life proactively. No limits to your life. Think and then do it. Leaders think beyond traditional boundaries, embrace creativity, and inspire others to achieve what once seemed impossible. I would like to leave you with a personal story. When I joined Disney, we all choose a Disney character as our avatar. Mine was Buzz Lightyear. His iconic slogan, "To infinity and beyond," has always been a reminder for me and our sales team that there are no ceilings except the ones we place on ourselves. Thank you for listening. And remember, to infinity and beyond.